YouTube. So we got a little special video here for you. We wanted to talk a little bit about our favorite part of the hobby of collecting, especially collecting Brett Favre, and that's the wild card stripe cards. I'm sure you've heard me mention it 1,000 times on this channel. You saw my Holy Grail card purchase of the 1,000 stripe rookie card, and I just thought it was appropriate being with Jason today to talk about why we love this, a little bit of history of wild card, why we think they're significant, and why it's so important to Favre collectors. So Jason and I know any Favre collector we talk to, what's the first thing they ask you?
What do you have for stripe cards?
What's your stripe situation?
Yes.
Yeah. Whenever I talk to anybody local or at a show or anything like that, yeah, it's usually, hey, do you have a 1,000 stripe? Do you own one of those? And I think it stems from a couple of different things. One, Brett was a rookie in 1991. Okay, so cards were extremely overproduced. There wasn't parallels and serial numbered cards. It wasn't a thing then. We were just coming out of the kind of the booming 80s, and 90s cards were sort of trying to find their way to keep the hobby going.
That's unfortunate that it only lasted a few years because they had a good concept that never caught on.
Yeah, so what happened was when these cards were produced in 91, it was Brett's rookie year, and it gave you a way to chase a rookie card of his, because all the other rookie cards were pretty obtainable. I have stacks and stacks, well, both do. We have stacks and stacks of score cards and Topps cards and,
Yep.
you know.
Upper Deck.
Actually, Topps wasn't even rookie year. Yeah, Upper Deck. You know, you had a couple of different cards in the Upper Deck and stuff. And yeah, the PSA 10s do well and things like that, but, you know, when we started collecting these back in the day, those weren't tough cards to obtain. So you spent your $5, you got your Upper Deck rookie card. Well, now what do you do if you're a Favre collector? And of course, collecting has always featured rookie cards. It's always been the top thing to go after. So the stripes were something to chase and have a lot of fun trying to get. Now, before the days of the internet, it was extremely difficult to even find any of the stripes. They didn't show up at shows, and to try to trade and do things through the mail was extremely difficult. So now that the internet is here and it's much more simple to find and locate things, Instagram, eBay, all those good places, Facebook Marketplace, it's made that chase even more fun because there's actually places you can reach out and find some of these things.
That's been our goal all the time as Favre collectors, is getting that stripe card, finding that stripe card on eBay.
As many as you can find. Yep. We'll take them all. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to show you some of our stripes. Now, we have some pretty good piles of stripes here. Some pretty significant ones, a few graded ones. The company was in business, like Jason said, for 3 years, so we've got some stripes from all the different years. We're looking for stripes, actively, always buying. So yes. If you happen to be watching this and go, hey, I got some Favre stripes,
let us know.
Yeah, put a comment down below. We will find a way to make something work out for everybody.
Especially 1,000 stripe now that you got yours.
Especially, yeah.
I need that.
Yes. We'd been fortunate when we got back into the hobby a couple of years ago, as most people our age have. You know, we did it as kids and we kind of came back. We were fortunate in the light of we got back before the huge
hike in prices.
Boom.
Yeah. Over
the last couple of years before COVID and all that. We were able to score a bunch of stripe cards for pretty good deals. So I feel pretty fortunate. We at least got our collection grown pretty well. Jason's done well with Facebook Marketplace. Has found some nice cards on there, on some nice deals. I've been doing well, you know, finding underpriced lots and things that haven't been listed correctly.
It's hard to compete with you on eBay.
Yeah, it's a race. It's usually a race. If you want something,
make it work.
Right.
Yeah.
And we just cheer each other's successes on, and that's part of the fun of sharing the hobby, and having someone else to enjoy it makes it even that much better. So
right.
So let's take a look at some cards. I'm going to cut away here. We'll take a look at some cards, and then let's talk a little bit about wild card. and what they were all about and why we believe they have a significant place in the hobby, even though they were only around for 3 years. Probably most collectors these days don't even know who they are. If you were around during our time, of course you would. They were kind of a big deal back at that time. But new people to the hobby, investors, collectors, probably aren't too aware. So I think there could be some good information in this video that you can find.
Yeah.
My collection is complete.
So before we go any further, it's imperative that you like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications of future videos. It really helps the channel grow, and we like making these videos. We want to keep making these videos, so if you can give us a hand and help us move forward, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Send some comments too. We like the feedback. We like the conversation. If you're a collector's card, especially if you're a FAR fan, I'd like to see what you guys have.
Absolutely.
On with the show!
So Jason, I think where we want to start on this is talk a little bit about the history of Wildcard. What is this company? What did they do? What was their idea? How were collectors involved with them? How were dealers involved with them? And
yeah, if you look at it, they had a different concept that was unique at that time. Some people thought it was more of like a banking type style, trade cards in. So you can go over a little bit of the history of what it was like to pull a 5 or a 10 stripe, what you could do, or what you could do if you had 5 of his regular base cards. You know, I personally like the concept.
Yeah, I think most people were trying to trade for the stripes. It was less people pulling a stripe and trying to trade for 1,000 of some base card. It was getting to be understood at that point that rarity mattered.
Could you imagine
in value.
1,000 base cards though? Trade 1,000 stripe for a base card?
You know, I probably have 200. You know, if you think about it, you know, just saving them from over the years. I don't sell FAR rookie cards when I get them in lots or trade for them, or they just show up at my door. It's just something that I keep. I don't see a reason to move them. They don't sell for a lot.
And a normal box, you get what, 6, 7 of them?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe
yeah.
even more. I think the boxes that we were opening it was average 6 to 7.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. So let's go over the concept first, okay? So what Wildcard was trying to accomplish, they wanted to come up with a way you could trade with the company that was making the cards, which sounds kind of ridiculous today, but in effect, it was a way to encourage more sales, if you think about it. So what they did was they overprinted everything, just like every brand did in 1991. 92, 93, the Wildcard was only in business for those 3 years.
Yep.
But what they wanted to do was say, hey, if you pull this stripe card out of a pack, you can send that stripe to us and we'll send the exact number of base cards of that stripe card in the mail to you. They also had wild cards, right?
Yep.
And those could have stripes as well.
Correct. Yeah, I think we pulled a couple of them.
So if you got the basic wild card, you could fill that out, because this was 91, so you had to fill stuff out, mail it in, pay postage to get it back. But you would mail that in, and then they would send you whatever was the wild card prize, for example.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I don't have any of those with me today, but try to show one of those maybe down the road. I know I still have a wild card stripe, but
yeah, I might have a couple of them. I have full sets somewhere of them.
think of it like points cards, right? Like today, Panini points, right? For a long time, they were a joke. So people would get points cards, and then it was like, Meg your points, you know, and people were making videos of, you know, considering these precious cards, and they really weren't. Points couldn't get you much. Now the points go for a bunch of money because of where the hobby has gone. That's kind of how we feel like some of these cards are going now. Wildcard cards is something. Remember the case trade card we just saw? I'll throw some pictures on the screen. I don't have any here with me, but you'll be seeing them on your screen there. I'll grab some screenshots and put stuff up so you can see what we're talking about. But anyway, so the main part of the concept was to be able to take those stripes, send them in, Get that number of copies of base card. Now you could do the flip of that too. You could take 20 copies of a base card and send it in and get a 20 stripe card of that player. So they all had to be of the same player, and then they would send you a stripe card of the equal value of that player. So what a crazy idea, right? So basically you were trading with the company. If you wanted a large amount of quantity of a card, you could get that. If you wanted a rarer card, you could take your quantity and trade down for something more precious.
What did they do with the cards when they got them, the stripe cards, when the company got them?
Yeah, and that's still in question. One of the cool things about this company only being in business for 3 years is we really don't know much about them at all. They filed bankruptcy and they basically went away. As far as I know, being involved in the hobby as long as I have been, and I don't know if you've heard differently, but as far as I know, there's no backdoor stuff. Like there wasn't a bunch of cards, dumped out that are on the market that shouldn't have been, that kind of thing. But how many of these cards did they make? We really don't know.
No.
There's a lot of thoughts that they produced more than they said. I've read that in some articles and things like that.
You pulled up I don't know how accurate it was, but the number of cards that you thought they made in each stripe, but I don't know if that was...
It's got to be
true,
it really has to be a guess. I mean, one thing that helps us now is population reports, because most of the, for example, this card, the 1000 stripe, which is of course the most rare and sought after stripe card, most of them have been graded, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
The card has value, and obviously grading is the way to go there. So we know, what there is in population, but even population reports can be wrong.
For sure.
Because how many were graded a 9, like this one, and then cracked and resent or tried to cross over to another company, and those numbers just aren't accurate. And the 1000 stripe numbers on BGS and PSA are extremely low. I think it's under 15.
Oh yeah. How many 1000 stripes have you seen on eBay? I think this is my second one.
Second or third, yeah.
That one guy had all PSA 10s of every
Yeah,
one.
there's someone listed a full set of PSA 10s for $1 million. I don't even know that that's a legit listing.
Yeah.
Like, does the
I've
guy
seen
even
it
have
a
the
couple
cards?
times. Yeah.
So when you get to really rare, unknown cards like that, it's so hard to tell. But so these stripes, I mean, they would have had to keep. They couldn't have just pack inserted all these. They would have had to keep some because you could trade in for it. In the same light,
how many boxes do you want to buy to get 1000 base cards?
And part of it is they wanted to not print too many of these and insert them because they didn't want to print 1,000 copies and send it out to you either.
Right.
So, I mean, the 5s we know are fairly common. The 10s are a little less common. I mean, it makes sense. Each stripe you go up adds rarity to the card.
If you had 10 5 stripes, you could trade it in for a 50. So they had the mix and match, 5, 10, 20. Add them together, you could get a 100 stripe eventually.
Exactly. So the concept had some merit. I think it's pretty cool. To me, why it's significant in the hobby, I mean, if you think about it, it's probably the first short printed cards, really, or one of the first short printed cards, especially with the 1000 stripes being extremely short, maybe less than 100. I don't really know, but definitely not a ton of them out there. But to me, why these cards were so significant is it was the first rainbow ever. So we're familiar with rainbows now. Right. Prism has 10 different colors and a mosaic and a silver and a wave and all these things. So they could add a rarity to cards in a sense. Yes, they serial number some and things like that, but in a way, these cards are serial numbered.
Right.
Like, not to an exact print run, but when you pull a 1000 stripe, you know that that's not a common card.
Right.
It's more than the other cards you're seeing. There are, if we kind of go back to the history of the company, this did take off. You read articles out there and they say, well, Wildcard was a failure and this and that. I remember going to shows as a kid, and there were guys with entire display cases, and all they had was a bunch of stripe cards, and buying stripes and trading stripes, and that was the big ad, and buying cases of it at a time, cracking cases, trying to get the rare stripes, and it was a big deal, at least in '91. Now, to be fair, I live in Green Bay, and Favre was the big card in the set.
Yep.
But in '91, he wasn't big.
No, shortly after though.
'92, he got traded to the Packers, but you didn't really know you didn't know he was going to be a Hall of Fame player,
Yeah.
or significant
He was
to the
this young
Packers
punk
even.
that came in thinking he was a hot shot.
Yeah,
And he was.
exactly.
He was.
So yeah, he was the hometown quarterback. That did add some interest, but I don't think it was as obvious a gangbuster type of game in the sports card as we would have thought just because of that. But the rainbow I thought was what was really significant. The 5 stripe, for example, is blue. The 10 stripe is green. The 20 stripe is red. 50 is copper. 100 is silver, and 1,000 stripe is gold. So I mean, it even has different colors. One thing that's interesting, and I'm going to show you when that looks obvious. I'm going to show you the red. It's a red one. So you can see the 20 stripe is red, but also look at the wild card writing in the top left. That's also in red. And then they have a little gold authenticating hologram. I don't know, you probably can't see that too well. It's not focusing as great, but a little football hologram on there. So a true rainbow. I mean, the foil changed on the entire card to the color of the card that was associated with that stripe. A nice foil. I mean, they look nice. They look great in slabs. Quality shots. The one downside I would say to the Favre card is he's in a college uniform. As we know nowadays, that's not the greatest scenario for a good rookie card.
That come out each year, like the Prism sets that
Sure
are
do.
all in their collegiate.
And there are
So,
college collectors, and personally, I could care less. If it's a cool card, if it's a rare card, if it's got a great story like Wild Card does, if it's got some rarity, if it's got some chase, other collectors are looking for it, things like that. It's all it takes for me. I'd care less what a uniform he's in.
I like the Falcons uniform. I don't know, just the cards pop with him in that uniform.
And that's one really, really important thing with Favre rookie cards. He wouldn't have been in a Packer uniform anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Action Pack made him. That was a Falcons.
There's a few out there. I think the
Platinum.
high series upper deck is Falcons. Yep. There's a few of them out there. He's in a Falcons uniform, but so what? That's not really who he played for, as we all know. The other thing that's kind of interesting is if you look at this card, it looks an awful lot like a Falcons uniform.
It sure does.
So, he played for Southern Miss, but if you really want to get creative and justify things in your mind, it looks pretty close to a Falcons uniform as far as college
You even
uniforms
see eBay
go.
listing him as, it's his
Falcons jersey. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I've seen them that way. People listing things that they don't really know what's out there. So that's where Wild Card comes in. Now, they went bankrupt, like we said, in 93. So they did produce cards in 92. They did produce cards in 93. I think 92 was just a regular set. Regular sets. They did a basketball and a football. And 92 they did inserts. 91 they didn't have inserts. They just had the stripes, right? But they continued the stripes through their 3 years. They did them in 92. They did them in 93. Excuse me. And we have several examples here from the different years. And there's even, in 92, they even had inserts with parallels with stripes. So you've got rainbows plus parallels plus stripes plus trade redemption cards, kind of. I guess you could consider them all redemption cards. So extremely innovative at the time. There was nothing like this out there. I honestly don't think there's been anything out there since. I think if they brought this back, it would be amazing. I would
agree. Yeah, we've talked about that in the past.
I would actually pay $1,000 for a hobby box like they're charging nowadays if I could get some cool stripe chase type stuff. And trading them in for base cards or trading them in for different parallel cards, it would be super rad to have something like that.
I think they could make it work. They get that.
I think they could too. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to mail stuff and wait for stuff to mail back. It's a little archaic for today's day.
PSA, you mail stuff for PSA.
True.
Right?
Good point. Yep. Yeah, and in a way, you're kind of taking a base card and then trying to trade it up for a card that's more rare due to grade. So if you look at the grade on a PSA card, that's almost like a stripe,
Yep.
right? This is your 9 stripe, which is not as rare as your 10 stripe. That's a very excellent point. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, in a way, we're playing a little bit of the wild card game
Well, what
today.
did we see? What set was it that came back that had the Stat Smasher look-alike?
Yeah, there was a recent set that brought a. Here, can I show this real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, this is what's called the Stat Smasher. Now this is a extremely rare 100 stripe, but there's a base version of this, and it's got that kind of speckly foil on
the
it and
gold
stuff.
version,
And you can see in the top left there how it says Stat Smasher. Hopefully you can see that. Getting a lot of glare, but anyway, and I'll find a photo of the new Stat Smasher, and I'll throw that on the screen too.
There was
but
no
you're right,
5
they
in
brought
that
it
set.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we looked
that
at
would've-
set, that would have
yeah.
been sweet. But
Yeah, we were excited when they said Stat Smasher was coming back. It's in the great 90s color lettering, and
yeah,
these cards just
like
scream
the
90s.
Or what is it? The rated rookie.
Rated rookies,
You know,
yep.
All
That's
that 90s.
90s,
basic
90s
look,
are
but
big.
Yes, I love it.
90s
I love
inserts, yeah, all that stuff. And inserts are back.
it. Yep.
There's a lot of case hits and stuff like that now that people are paying money for. So, so some of these concepts, while they seem archaic and not appropriate for today's market, I don't know. We're seeing some of that come back.
I
so
could
we'll
disagree at it.
I could too. And there's a lot of collectors like us. We came from this era, and we're back in, and we've got some bucks now. And we can buy these cards we've always wanted and stuff. So I think we wouldn't be on our own island by any means.
No.
One of the things I found interesting about this card too, it wasn't without controversy, which always makes for a better story in the end.
For
Anyway,
sure.
improves on the story. But one of the reasons it's claimed they went bankrupt was it a player that they had the problem with? Well, I think they were sued or something. It was somebody. They were a prospect, wasn't it? A prospect.
Yep.
A prospect that they were doing cards with. They misstated or understated what their print runs were. Correct.
Correct.
Wasn't that it? So, what does that mean? Like, how many did they print? Like, there hasn't even been a stated print run. Like, how do we even know how many there are?
You can't really find anything out. It's very minimal.
And if you want to claim that they were way more overprinted than we thought they were, which we kind of assumed they were overprinted, I don't know that that's true. I don't see that much wild card stuff out there for sale. And when you see something like these aren't, trust me, they didn't overprint these.
Right.
These aren't common. I paid a lot of money for this, and as we said a little bit ago, we don't even really see them come up. So I don't know. Were the base cards overprinted? Well, yeah, but so is 91 Tops and 91 Fleer, and why does that make wild card a bad product? They actually had really nice quality cards too. I mean, the cards are a nice high gloss. They're cut well. You can actually add rarity to these if you have some really nice ones, because they're hard to grade. They're black borders. The edges are subjected to chipping.
Yep.
And full color. They've got this great mullet Favre picture on the back.
He's got a lot of good shots of him.
Some nice stats. Yeah, his photography is interesting at times. But it was a nice card. It's still a nice card. Used foil on it. They used a hologram sticker. Like, that wasn't stuff that was out there.
The Super Chrome ones were a good idea too.
Yeah, Super Chrome that was a nice set. That was a 93. Yeah. So in 93, I'm glad you brought us back around to that. The 93 products, they expanded out a little bit. They did a Super Chrome product. They did a rookies one, I think.
Yep.
They had
Terry Kirby and Favre on that.
Yeah, the Terry Kirby and Favre, the two-sided inserts, and they did foil stuff. So they had the regular insert, and then they'd have a silver foil insert, and then they'd have a gold foil insert. So they made some parallels to their inserts, which again, parallels wasn't Wasn't a thing in
That
'91.
was the same year that Pro Set went out of business, wasn't it, too? 93? Was it last
I
year?
believe that's true. Yes, '93 Pro Set they made.
I may
and
be
then that
wrong,
was
but I
it.
believe that was right around the time.
There was a lot of companies going
Coming
out
around,
at that time. You know, I think what was stacked against Wildcard was they came out right when the market was super hot, which makes it easy to come out as a company like that. But the market died just a few years after that. So it was kind of like, well, how are they going to keep going? They don't really, it's not like Topps, who was around since 1940, whatever, or even Score, who had been around for, you know, since 89. You know, they had a couple more years under their belt, stuff like that. And most of those companies just got bought out. You know, Score got bought out by Pinnacle, and then I think Pinnacle ended up getting bought out by Playoff, and then Playoff got bought out by Panini, and you know, the merry-go-round there. But we love Wildcard. We want you guys to experience some Wildcard and have some fun with us with this. So before we show some cards, we just like to ask you to make a comment if you've got something you'd like to add to this or questions. We'd be happy to answer them. And
Feel free to share your stripes if you have any.
You
We
got-
always like to see other collectors.
any players. I've got some Elway stripes. I've got a couple Shannon Sharp stripes. The Merino ones are kind of cool. I've seen a few Merino ones I really like. Barry Sanders was a rookie in '91 in this. It was kind of a strange card, but he was in this rookie set and has stripes. Pretty cool cards. So yeah, share them with us. And obviously, if you have Favre stripes available, we're buying.
Yep.
Tell me the stuff.
Let's take a deep dive into some of these Favre stripe cards. We'll start with the '91 stripes. We see a full set here. We've got the 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, and 1000. This is what kicked it all off. These are the rookie card stripes for him, and obviously have the most value. So the 5 is blue, the 10 is green, the 20 is red, the 50 is copper, the 100 is silver, and the 1000 is gold. As you can see, we've got a few PSA graded. They are tough grades. We've got a 6, a 7. We don't have a 20 graded yet. 50 as an 8, 100 as an 8, and then a 9 on the 1000. So a 9 on a 1000 is that makes it a pretty darn rare card.
Yeah.
So those are the 91 cards. That's the very first rainbow ever in sports card history. So I love those cards. I could look at these cards all day long.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, so let's take a look at some 92s. Now this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Yeah, let me see if I
I'm
can.
gonna try to get that glare out.
All right, so let's take a look over here. So kind of the same thing. We've got the 5 stripe is blue, the 10 is green, the 20 is yellow, the 50 is copper, and we don't have the 100 or the 1000 in the base Field Force insert. So this was actually an insert card in '92. There was no base card for Favre, so obviously no stripes for a base card there. But then it goes from there on to a parallel insert card with a stripe. So there's silver foil versions, and then there's these gold foil versions. So that is gold. It's a little, yeah, you can tell.
Yeah, we
there.
don't have any silvers.
We don't have any silver stripes. I was very fortunate to pick up a couple of the gold stripes. So we have, same color applies. The 5 stripe is blue, the 10 stripe is green. But then there's that gold foil down the side, which you can see is different than, the base insert version, which doesn't have any foil at all. So it can get pretty complicated from there. What are these worth? I would say a whole ton, based on what 93 stripes are going for now and stuff.
100 stripe.
Printing started going down, and then the fact that they're the gold foil.
Yep.
Now they are only 5s and 10s. They're not, obviously the 1000 gold foil I think would be. I mean, if you had a couple of
can't
big
put a price on it, I guess.
Yeah, if you had a couple of big Favre collectors, man, it would just skyrocket.
If one ever came up, it'd be a bidding war.
Yeah, I would be in on it. I would want to participate in that. So we've got our 93s. We're going to jump over here to a couple of Jasons. So the 93, same thing going on here. We've got the 5 stripe, which is blue, and we've got the 20 stripe here, which is red.
You do have
I do have a 10 stripe, which is graded. PSA 9, so that's green, of course, as always has been the case. And then we've got this super rad Stat Smasher 100 stripe, and you can see the Stat Smasher really good in this video. So the nice 90s colors and the explosion, and very, very, very 90s cards. Look at the back, you got the nice picture of Brett down there, little verbiage. So so that would be your 93 card. So he had a base card in 93, and then he had this Stat Smasher insert card, which then also has stripes. There's also a gold parallel version of this Stat Smasher card where the foil is gold instead of silver, and then that has stripes up to 1,000. We believe.
Yes.
We
I
believe.
would have to do some
Never
research.
seen one.
I haven't seen one. Nope.
So we just want to kind of give you then an overall view of what we've hoarded for stripes over the years. So we've got a pile of 20s there, nice pile of 5s, pile of 10s. You got a 10 and a 5 there, and a couple of 9s, a 20 and a 100, a couple of 50s. Let's see what else. We saw the full rainbow here on the 91s, and then
that lovely stat.
pile here of some 5s, some 20s, some 10s, a couple 50s in there. And then we've got some 93. Well, let's do the 92s next. So we've got our 92s. So we've got our insert ones here, 5, 10, 20, 50, and then the 2 gold foil versions. Then let's do some 93s. So we've got a 5, a couple of 5s, a 10, a 20, nice PSA graded one. Then we've got a 5, a 20, and then a really super 100 Stat Smasher.
Was it the 1,000 stripe Stat Smasher that sold? What was on eBay recently? I thought there was a Stat Smasher. I know there was.
I don't know. I'll have to check. I don't remember seeing.
There was
that.
100 stripe that sold.
Yeah, 100 stripe of the 92s.
$350 it sold for.
There was a 50 stripe. Was it 100? Oh no, it was 100 stripe. I think 100 stripe of the 93 base.
Oh yeah.
And that went for $350.
Why don't you tell them what you got too for the 50 stripe coming in the mail to you?
Yeah, so one thing that's interesting about the wild card cards and where we've scored a lot of really good deals is people don't know what these are or what they have. So checking, lots quite a bit, and I look at Favre spelled incorrectly and things like that. And just yesterday I found an amazing lot with a 93 50 stripe card in it. That I got for an amazing deal. So I'm really excited to bring that one in. I don't have a 50. These are my 93s right here, a 5, 10, and a 20. So I get to add the 50, and then I just need to look for that 100 and 1,000. Hopefully those will pop up at a price that I can afford at some point too. So that's the overall view of all of our stripe cards up to this point, where, like I said, we're always building on these collections. We just love the stripes, and we'll keep looking.